What is a trifecta? It started in the 80s. The manufacturers are kind of competing with each other. Who can make the very best cars? 1980s and 1990s, 3 cars in each one. This car here, the GTO, is the first Ferrari supercar. Stepped up to the plate. They said, you know what? We're going to take you up on this competition. We're going to use our most exotic F1 technologies. We're going to make it out of carbon Kevlar. We're going to put a V8 in. We're going to mount it longitudinally. We're going to put twin turbos in. We're going to make a car that's just going to blow the socks off everybody else and enter it into this race. We're going to make 200 of them. 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, 189 miles per hour, 395 horsepower. Porsche freaks out. They're like, this can't happen. We need to make a car that's going to completely destroy this 288. Here you go, Porsche 959. Now you got a car that's almost 200 mile per hour, way over the 300 kilometer per hour at the time, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Now it's a 450 horsepower car, quite a bit more horsepower than the 288 with a smaller engine. So here's a 6-cylinder engine that's got more horsepower than a V8 turbo. And not only that, the car could ride 100 miles an hour plus off-road, 4-wheel drive. It's just an amazing accomplishment. Ferrari's embarrassed. 959 comes out. They're like, there's no way we can make this. We need to do something fast. So Enzo Ferrari, the owner of Ferrari at the time, said, let's just make a car that's just going to beat 0 to 60, the top speed. We don't need the 4-wheel drive because Group B was canceled in 86, so they didn't really have to compete off-road with the cars. So they took that 288 GTO design, it was the Evoluzione model, and turned it into this, and they did that in like 12 months. And this is the F40. Now we're talking a car that does just about 200 miles per hour. This is a U.S. car. U.S. cars, I hear, about 520 horsepower. They're rated at 470. This is quite a bit more. Lower gearing. Only about 200 F40s built for the U.S. market. So you can kind of see the intercoolers, the same as the 288. They're kind of done a little bit differently. The wastegate's in the middle here. That's that center pipe. For the most part, people think the F40's one of the first mass-produced production cars to exceed 200 miles per hour. Now we're entering the 1990s. We had such success with these supercars, we don't really have a competition going on anymore. What are we going to do? So Ferrari said, you know what? We're really successful in F1 races. What's the next definition of a supercar? It's an F1 car you can drive on the street. That's what the F50 is. This basically took the F1 car from the 90s, the same exact engine in there, 5 valves per cylinder, revs to almost 9,000 RPM. This is a V12 engine, 12 cylinders, double the cylinders that the Porsche has. You got to rev this car high. You have to get it close to its 8,000, 9,000 RPM red line to get the power out of it. If you do that, it's way faster than the F40. Not top speed, but around the track, it'll decimate an F40. It's just a better handling car. It's got more downforce, flatter handling. Only 349 cars built, only 55 built for the U.S. market. You had to lease this car to buy it. You had to go on a 2-year lease because people were flipping these. It's exactly the F1 car underneath, down to the springs inside the car to get the weight off the wheels so the tires respond very fast to bumps. Carbon fiber tub, just like the Carrera GT. An F1 car that you can drive on the street. Let's jump into the XJ220. So what's this Jaguar doing here? And why did we pick it? And why did Top Gear magazine pick it as well? Jaguar won a very significant race in the 90s. I think it was the Le Mans race winner. It was a V12 engine that won. So this car basically came out to satisfy their customers. It was supposed to be a V12. When the customers got it, they put a V6 in there because it was emissions at the time. The customer's like, well, you promised us a V12. Why did you do a V6? So there's a little bit of controversy on this car, but nevertheless, it still did 217 miles an hour. Still considered a supercar. I think everybody knows the XJ220. You hardly ever see these cars. This is probably one of the rarest cars you'll see. They made 275, but you just never see them. 213 top speed was what they recorded in the U.S. They later got 217 by taking out the cats and changing the gearing. So it wasn't quite fair, but Guinness Book of World Record actually had the 217, so it's a little bit controversial on that too. And here you're seeing it today. Bugatti EB110. So this car was super hard to find. This is the GT variant, a little bit more horsepower. So Bugatti, they were racing cars in the 50s. 57 was kind of the last production car, and then Bugatti kind of just went away for like 30 years. So what happened was kind of a group of people got together in Italy, and they said, you know what, we got some of the designers of these cars back from the 80s, and they built this car to bring back the Bugatti name. When I looked at the person that designed this car, it was the same person that designed the 288 GTO and the F40. You can see the scissor doors way ahead of its time. Special hood here, carbon fiber, the styling of the car. Take a look at that engine in there. It's just such a beautiful engine. It's a V12 with 4 turbos. This car was exactly what they promised. Nothing like the XJ220 is exactly what they said. Pretty amazing that those guys all got together again many, many years later to bring the Bugatti name back.